Hello everyone, good afternoon and welcome to this class on the same chapter, that is breathing and exchange of gases, and we will continue with the same chapter but after we take a few doubts in case if you have any. Good afternoon Hiren, how are you? Kumaraswamy, good afternoon. So slowly and gradually the students are going to join in. So let us wait for a few seconds more. Okay, Hiren. Thank you. So how is the preparation going on if you're talking about biology subject? Hi Padma. Good afternoon Anju, Anusha, good afternoon. I think I asked this question earlier, but I'm not very sure. Which class are you in? Like, you have to let me know whether you're in 11th, 12th or you're a dropper. Hiren is saying biology is going very smooth. That's very good. That's very good. So Hiren, Padma, Anuj, Anusha, Kumaraswamy. Which class are you in? Are you Hiren is in 11th. Okay, good afternoon Reshma. Anusha is a dropper. Okay. Anju is also a dropper. And is this your first drop? Anusha and Anju, is it your first drop? Kumaraswamy says NEET, but are you a fresher, like you're in 12th class and appearing for NEET for the first time, or have you appeared earlier also and taken a drop? First drop, okay. Okay, so now I have a question for Anju and Anusha. What was that reason because of which you had to take this drop? Amisha is in 11th and Kumaraswamy is in 12th. Okay. So what was the reason that you had to take this 1 year drop? Are you able to figure out that what are all, you got low marks, so that is very obvious, because if the marks are low then only you try to take the exam again. But what was the reason for the low marks? Why did you get less marks? Did you analyze this thing? Not smooth preparation and no revision, okay? And what difference or what different are you doing this year so that whatever wrong happened, like the preparation was not smooth or you did not get enough time for revision, could not understand, like Anusha is writing, laziness. So what are you doing to overcome all those problems? And do you find that those problems are getting overcome, or do you find the same kind of a thing? Because you now know that things did not go right, something went wrong, preparation was not proper, revision was not proper, whatever. So now are you doing all those things so that this year our result changes or is different? meditating and praying, that is different. But what about the study part? Only meditation and only praying will not help. What about physics, chemistry on plus? See, on plus there are already teachers who are taking modules for physics, chemistry and bio. So if you have already taken a subscription and if you're a plus student, I guess those programs are available to you, right? Anusha, you're working on clearing your concepts, and are the concepts getting cleared? Are you successful in those things? Priya says need guidance. What kind of? In biology first. See, you have to do it, you know, in all three subjects, physics, chemistry and bio. So the focus should be on the things which now you know were not right, or you could not do correctly last year, and that's why you had to take doubt. So first thing is you need to rectify those, because if the same thing happens, then the result is going to be the same. Hiren is writing, I have observed not taking care of health is the most common hindrance that decreases concentration. I agree with you, Hiren, but what at your age, like when you're in 11th, 12th or a dropper, what workload do you have? You have to study, and if you have school or if you have to take classes, online, offline, wherever, that is the only thing that you have to do. So good food, good sleep, that is what you need. So if you are able to do that, these are very simple basic things. Ask physics teacher to take live classes. I'm sure, you know, there are various YouTube channels where various teachers are taking classes. I'm not sure on which channel which teacher is taking the class, but I guess if you do a little bit of search, you will find this. Lack of confidence and demotivated. Now you have to motivate yourself. There is nobody who is going to come from outside. This is your goal to clear NEET. So you have to be self-motivated, and confidence is going to come with time. You attend a class, you take a test, you do good, you get confidence. So confidence is not in the market somewhere that you can buy it, right? So the more questions you solve, more correct answers you give, more confident you are. Misha, I'll do that as and when we come across those chapters, right? As we have done few in this chapter, we will keep doing things as and when we come across those things. Plus में class कब start होगा? After Diwali. I think, let me tell you that I have given the schedule till 11th of this month, November, right? Then 14, 15, 16 is Diwali break, and then I have taken a break of about 15 days and I'll restart from 1st of December. So I guess when I restart in the month of December, that is the time when we will most probably be starting with the plus also. Anju says you could not give the exam. Okay, but this time everything should be properly planned. See, Diwali break is the people who work, you know, the entire team, they also need a break. So the celebration, Diwali, this is the only time when the team also gets a break. So I can talk only about biology, that after Diwali, from 1st of December. Then again we will start with new chapters and the plus and everything. Okay, so we had a long chat today before we could start. So what we will do is we will go over our basic things first, and then we will start discussing few important things today. So what we have for today's class are the pulmonary volumes and capacities. Very, very important. Every year one question is going to be there from this, or is there. Exchange of gases, the another important thing. So these are two things which we will be talking about today in the class today. Okay, so this is the app which you need to install if you want to use the special classes or plus classes and the benefits of it. I'm sure many of you have already installed this app, but I'm not sure of everyone. And very soon I will be conducting quiz on this app. So though you are attending my classes on the YouTube channel, but the quiz will be conducted on this app. So install it as early as you can, and you can decide on the plus subscription or the iconic subscription. These are the two plans, and you can compare this. There are certain things which are common to both, like the educators, like I will be teaching on plus and iconic, so similar kind of things would be happening. Interactive classes, course, PDFs will be available, quizzes will be there. These are common points. Then personal course, study planners, guidelines and analysis are the additional features on the iconic subscription. And this is the plan, the fee structure basically. So for plus you have multiple options, like you have the option of a month. You can try it out for a month, and if you think it is working for you, then you can go for a long-term one. Or if you have attended like the free lectures of the teachers and you know that this teacher is good and you're able to understand everything, then you can straight away go for a long-term plan, because in long-term plan there is definitely a benefit. There's always a discounted thing. So for 12 months or 24, that is 1 year or 2 year, there's always a lesser amount, and this simple math I'm sure you can do. And while you purchase this subscription or buy this subscription, this is my code which you can use so that you get this discount, because here you will be eligible for 10% discount if you use this code. So all these planning things you can do in this week or two, so that when I start in December you already are all set. And this is for your iconic, and here also the long-term one has comparatively, like if you multiply this with the amount which you see with the long-term one, you definitely get a larger amount here, but here is a discounted one. And for this also there is going to be 10% discount on that subscription which you take after using the code. All right. Amisha, your question is very interesting, but it is going to take a very, very long time if I start talking about this. So maybe someday after this Diwali break, I will tell you this story for sure. Okay, so then you will get to know. Yes, I will definitely share this. So maybe I'll just do some one day, half an hour session, and we will talk about all these random things, okay, not the biology part. So we will do that. All right, now let us start with the doubts. We have discussed the breathing mechanism, the muscles, inhalation, exhalation, and all those things. So tell me, any doubt in that part? Anything which is not clear, how a muscle works, why one process is active, the other is passive, all these things. Any doubt? If there is no doubt on the previous part, then we can get started with the next. Okay, Anju is saying this is your first class. NCERT is easy to understand, that is Hiren is saying. So I am sure you have read the NCERT. Amisha is asking about forceful exhalation. Okay, so we'll talk about that first. Now in normal case, suppose this is the position of the thoracic wall and here is the diaphragm. Say we draw the diaphragm. This is the position of the rib cage, thoracic wall, and this is the position of the diaphragm. Now when inhalation takes place, the diaphragm gets pulled and it becomes straight due to contraction of two types of muscles, phrenic or radial. Two types means two names for the muscle, phrenic or radial. And the rib cage or the thoracic wall, it moves up and out. So this dotted line which we have shown is the space now after the contraction of external intercostal muscles and the phrenic muscles. So this is during inhalation. And here you can see that the volume of thoracic cavity is increasing. Obviously pressure will decrease and air from outside atmosphere, that is from higher pressure, will go inside. Now when inhalation takes place, the volume increases. When exhalation takes place, the volume comes back to normal. Now if you're talking about forceful exhalation, then there are again two types of muscles. Internal intercostal muscles, and they will pull the rib cage in. So volume of thoracic cavity will decrease further. And there are muscles between the abdominal organs and the diaphragm. So when these muscles contract, they pull the organ up, and this will make the diaphragm even more dome shaped. So what is happening to the volume of thoracic cavity? Internal intercostal muscles and abdominal muscles contract, due to which the volume of thoracic cavity decreases. It becomes even less, and when the volume becomes less, the pressure will increase. So here there will be higher pressure and air will rush out to the atmosphere, that is lower pressure. And why are you calling it exhalation? Because air is being pushed out. Why are we calling it forceful? Because there is contraction of these muscles and you're forcing that air out. Okay, got it? Yes, and I asked you a question like what takes more time, inhalation or exhalation? I think the time taken for inhalation and exhalation are not much different, but inhalation may take a bit more time. But this may be because I would have performed forceful exhalation. Okay, normally exhalation takes little longer because the muscles relax and the relaxation period is little longer so that they relax and get enough rest. Okay, now let us come to the next very important thing. Pulmonary volumes, they are also known as lung volumes or lung capacities. Now before we take up various volumes and capacities, we need to understand what exactly are we talking about. Suppose here is a container. Here is a container and there are markings on this. Suppose these markings say that it is 5 liters. That is the uppermost mark. So what is the capacity of this container? Can anybody tell me? Amisha is saying inhalation zyada lag raha hai because muscles work, that's why you feel it. Inhalation is a passive process, so you don't feel it. Okay, Reena says 5 liter, that is the capacity. Now suppose I pour a liquid in this. Suppose there is a liquid which is poured and it fills it to 1 liter. So what is the volume of the liquid which is here? Is 1 liter. What is the capacity of the container? Is 5 liters. So now when we talk about lung capacity, that means what is the maximum it can hold. And when we use the word volume, that means actually how much air is going in. Okay? And this is calculated by a machine which is called spirometer. Calculated by spirometer. So now you know the difference between capacities and the volumes. So we can calculate the volumes, and by adding or subtracting these figures we will come to the capacities. Okay, so shall we start with the volumes, because these are important ones. First, tidal volume. Let us first define it and then we will come to what exactly that value is. It is the volume of air that is inhaled or exhaled in normal resting condition. Normal resting condition is when you're sitting down, not lying down. So when you're normally sitting, not doing any physical activity, at that time, how much air you take in and how much you exhale. That volume is called tidal volume. And this tidal volume is 500 milliliters. That is half a liter. So when we are sitting, right now you're sitting and watching this lecture, and you're continuously inhaling and exhaling. As such, there is no physical activity going on, like except for writing few things maybe. So when we inhale normally, just the air goes in, that is half a liter, 500 milliliters. And I'm sure you have an idea of 500 milliliters. You know, when we buy these carbonated drinks, Coca-Cola, Limca, Sprite, something, there is a half a liter bottle which is available. That much air goes in when you normally inhale or exhale. So this is called tidal volume. So how do we define it? It is volume of air that is inhaled or exhaled in normal breathing or in a normal breath. Okay? In a breath. And that volume is 500 milliliters. These numbers are very important because they will help us calculate the capacities. So In normal case, you are taking only 500 milliliters of air in your lungs. Now out of this 500, how much is actually going into the alveoli? You remember the diagram which we made yesterday? Trachea, then bronchi, and then branching, 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 branching. And here were the alveoli. What about all these tubes? So there is air which is going to remain in this tube. So out of 500 milliliters, 350 milliliters air reaches the alveoli. So we can call it 350 milliliters. This volume can be considered as the alveolar air or volume. So this much air is going there. What about 150 milliliters? Out of 500, 350 is going to reach in to the alveoli. That means exchange is going to take place between this 350 milliliters, and 150 milliliters remains in the tubes. That means this air is of no use. There is no exchange of oxygen which is taking place through this 150 milliliters. This tube or this space in the tube is called anatomical dead space. And what will you call this 150 milliliter? This is called the dead volume. So 150 will remain in the tube. It will not be used for exchange of gases. 350 is going to reach up to the alveoli. So now here we have three numbers. 500 is the tidal volume, 350 reaches up to the alveoli, and 150 milliliters remains in the dead space, the anatomical dead space, that is in the tubes. Trachea, bronchi, and all those tubes which we had labeled in the branchial intercom, it remains there. So that space is called anatomical dead space. Okay, is this part clear? Still 150 use हो रही है. How is it getting used? Exchange of gases will take place only here. So 350 comes here, 150 remains here. So that 150 is never going to reach up to the alveoli, and for exchange of gases you need the respiratory surface. ठीक है? So Amisha, it is not 150 is not used. Okay, clear? So this is like our structure is such that there is some space where the air cannot be used for exchange of gases. Alright, let us come to the next volume. Inspiratory reserve volume and inspiratory capacity. Now what exactly we mean by the inspiratory reserve volume? How do we define? It is the volume of air inhaled after a normal inhalation. Now this is what we will be doing in the class. You will have to do it with me. You normally inhale, exhale, inhale, exhale. 500 milliliters go in, 500 milliliter air comes out. This is normal. Now, after normal inhalation, you're going to stop and then try to inhale some more air. Let me explain one more time. What happens in normal breath? We inhale, we exhale. We inhale, we exhale. 500 ml goes in, 500 ml comes out. Now, to find out this inspiratory reserve volume, that means after you inhale 500, is there any other space available in the lungs? If yes, then you will be able to inhale more. So how do we check that? We inhale and stop, and then try to inhale little more. Okay? Can you do it? It is the volume of air forcefully inhaled after a normal inhalation. Could you inhale some more air? Like normal? 500, stop, little more. So are you able to do this? That means after 500, there is some space available in our lungs which can hold more air. That is inspiratory reserve volume. So you are able to do it, and now tell me, do you think it is same as 500 or do you think it is more than 500? Is that volume looks like around 500 milliliters, or it is like more than that, double, maybe 3 times, maybe 4 times? Okay, Amisha is saying 500 se zyada hai. Okay, more than 500. Hiren is saying less. Try it again, Hiren. See, what you have to do is inhale, 500 goes in, stop, forcefully, inhale some more. So it is definitely more than 500. And you know how much this is? This is 2000 milliliters to 3000 milliliters. That is 2 liters to 3 liters. Okay, I guess, yeah, that is the reason, Hiren, your nose is blocked. So that's why you are not able to inhale. 500 से ज़्यादा कर सकते हैं, 600, 700. No, it is more. It is almost 4 times because you're doing it forcefully. So in normal inhalation, we inhale 500. But when we are forcefully doing it, you're sucking that air in. And that is why the volume is definitely more, but it is much more than what you can feel. Got it? So now tell me, we know what is our tidal volume. Normal 500 goes in, 500 comes out. 500 goes in, 500 comes out. Okay? That means we are just sending 500 milliliters of air when our lungs can hold this much more. So what is the inspiratory capacity? Inspiration is taking the air in. One, you're taking normally, and then on top of it you're taking forcefully. So what is the capacity? Capacity is going to be tidal volume plus the inspiratory reserve volume. If you add these two volumes, you will get the inspiratory capacity. So how much that is going to be? This is 500 plus 2000 to 3000. We normally get a range. So inspiratory capacity is going to be 2500 to 3500 milliliters, or 2.5 liters to 3.5 liters. Clear? This much air can be accommodated in your lungs. Clear? Tidal volume, normal breathing, 500. After taking 500, forcefully you can inhale some more. That is inspiratory reserve volume. That means that much of reserve volume we can take. Capacity, that means how much inhaled air can our lungs hold. Normal inhalation 500 and then forcefully 2 to 3 liters. So our inspiratory capacity is 2.5 liters to 3.5 liters. Clear? Any doubt in this? Let us come to the next. This is called expiratory reserve volume. And for these volumes, abbreviations are more commonly used. And the question which is invariably asked on these volumes is match the column. And in match the column, if you do one wrong, second automatically becomes wrong. Okay? So, Reena is asking where that 150 ml goes after several breathings. See, 500 is going in. Now, out of that 500, suppose we draw it like this. Total volume that enters is 500. 150 remains in the tube, 350 goes here. So 500 comes in, a part remains in the tube, part goes into the alveoli. When you exhale, this also goes out and this also goes out. So 500 ultimately goes out. Amisha is asking lungs burst हो जाएंगे क्या अगर 3 लीटर से ज्यादा इनहेल करे तो अभी तो just wait for some time, let us find out everything and then we will talk about this. What about a smoking person? Smoking reduces vital capacity. Let us wait. Let us finish all these volumes and then we will come to these questions, okay? Like what happens in case of athletes, what happens in case of a person who is smoking, okay? So we will talk about these. Do athletes train themselves? All these questions we will take up little later. So now what is expiratory reserve volume? What was inspiratory reserve volume? After normal inhalation, can you forcefully inhale some more air? That was inspiratory reserve volume. Now what is expiratory reserve volume? The volume of air that can be forcefully exhaled after normal exhalation. Now this you need to try. Normal breathe, normally inhale, exhale. Inhale, stop, try to take some more air. This is inspiratory reserve volume. Again normal breathing, inhale, exhale. After exhaling, stop and try to exhale some more. Can you do it? Can you do it? Yes, the abdominal muscles will get tight. You're right. But are you able to forcefully exhale after normal tidal volume? Now tell me, is it more than 500? Do you think it is more than 500? The volume of air which we are forcefully exhaling after 500. Yes, it is more. Tell me, is it more than inspiratory or less than inspiratory reserve volume? More than 500, okay? Less as compared to inspiratory reserve volume. and this volume is 1000 to 1500 milliliters. So expiratory reserve volume is the volume of air which we can forcefully exhale after normal exhalation. So in normal exhalation 500 is going to go out, and after that if you forcefully try to exhale, this much air again goes out. That means this was already there in your lungs. Okay? So is this part clear? Three things: tidal volume, inspiratory reserve volume, inspiratory capacity, and expiratory reserve volume. Now the next thing that we are going to talk about is vital capacity. The abbreviation that we use for vital capacity is VC. Okay? Clear? Very good. So I guess everyone has understood this part. Now, listen to me what I am trying to tell you. It is the maximum volume. We'll first understand this vital capacity and see we are talking about the capacity. So it is actually the maximum volume of air which can be exhaled. Okay? Now, how much can be exhaled? Normal exhalation 500, forceful exhalation 1000 to 1500 exhaled. Now, start filling the air. What is going to go first? That expiratory reserve volume, then normal, and then the inspiratory reserve volume. Clear? In normal breathing, it is 500. Okay? Forcefully, when you take in, so your lungs can accommodate 2000 to 3000. Okay? Now when you exhale this 5, your lungs can exhale from 1000 to 1500 more. So this is tidal volume which you normally take. This is inspiratory reserve volume, and this is expiratory reserve volume. So now you forcefully exhale. What is going to go out? 500 goes out, right? Forcefully. This also goes out, and now we forcefully inhale. So what will happen? First, the expiratory reserve volume will be occupied, then the tidal volume will be occupied, and then the inspiratory reserve volume will be occupied. That means this much is the capacity of your lungs. Srinath is saying, I'm not able to understand. See, I have drawn a diagram for you that in our lung, this is the normal space that we use. So when you normally inhale, you take 500 ml, it goes in, it goes out. Okay? After taking in 500, you can take some more air in. That means this much space in the lung is available for the air to be taken in. So how much air can we inhale forcefully? After normal, 2000 to 3000 ml. Now, let us talk about exhalation. Normal breathing is going on. 500 ml tidal volume out. After this, can you exhale forcefully? That means you are exhaling this much air which was there in the lungs already. So now we are trying to see the maximum capacity. Let us empty the lungs first. Let us remove. We are normally breathing, that means this is not there. In normal breath, we are taking in 500, we are releasing 500. So now after releasing 500, we forcefully release this also. So these two go out. Now we start filling the lungs. So what will happen? The expiratory reserve volume will be filled. The expiratory reserve volume will be filled. That is 1000 to 500. Then the tidal volume will be filled. And you're forcefully taking in. So inspiratory reserve volume, that is 2000 to 3000, will also enter. This much air your lungs can hold. This is the vital capacity. Yes, you cannot empty the lungs completely because there is always a residual volume. What is your question, Amisha? And Srinath, are you understanding now what exactly is the vital capacity? So how do you calculate vital capacity? Vital capacity will be inspiratory reserve volume plus tidal volume plus expiratory reserve volume. 500 liter nahi, 500 milliliter में डेड स्पेस 150 होता है. सो 3 लीटर में कितना होगा? ये इस तरह से प्रोपोर्शनेट नहीं होता. रीजन इज you don't use the entire space of your lung. When you're using this much space, then 150 is the anatomical dead space. Now when you're using this, the proportion is different, and when you're using this, then the proportion is different. So वो ratio नहीं है कि 1 में इतना तो 10 में कितना, not that type. Milliliter, ठीक है? So we cannot calculate that 500 में 150 है तो 500 में कितना होगा. You can have an approximate idea, but not a very clear thing because it varies. We know for sure for the normal tidal volume. Okay? So how much is the vital capacity? Let us calculate. Inspiratory reserve volume is 2000 to 3000 plus tidal volume is 500 plus expiratory reserve volume is 1000 to 1500. So let us take the lower limits. Let us add this, this and this. So it is going to be 2000, 3000 and 500. And then let us take the upper limit so that we get a range. So add this, this and this. So it is 3000, 4000 and 5000. So vital capacity is 3.5 liters to 5 liters. This is the capacity of your lungs. And how much of that area are you using? Our lungs can hold 5 liters, that is 5000 milliliters. And you are using just the 10% of it. Every time you breathe in, you just send only 500 milliliters of air. Whereas the capacity of our lungs is 5,000, 5 liters. It can hold 5 liters of air. Now let us talk about the residual volume. Is the vital capacity clear? If vital capacity is clear, then let us come to the residual volume. Right? Is vital capacity clear? Residual volume is the volume of air which is present in the lungs even after the most forceful exhalation. No matter how forcefully you try to exhale, there is some air which is always going to remain in our lungs, and that is called the residual volume. And this residual volume is about 1200 to 1500 milliliters. That means about a liter or little more than that air is always going to remain in your lungs. Okay? So are these things clear? Now if I ask you, can you tell me what is going to be the functional residual volume? Residual volume is, even if you try most forceful exhalation, this much of air is always going to remain in your lungs. That means our lungs are never empty. There is some air which is always there. So you exhale, 500 goes out, forcefully you exhale, that is the expiratory reserve volume, that air also goes out. Even after that, this much air remains in your lung, that is called residual volume. Now I want to know what is functional residual volume. What is residue? Residue means which remains. So if you are talking about functional residual volume, what is that volume which remains in your lungs as residue? Volume of air that is always present under normal condition. And how do we calculate that? To find this out, you have this residual volume, this is anyways going to be there. What about the expiratory reserve volume? That was thrown out only after forceful exhalation. So expiratory reserve volume, that much air is always there in your lungs. So that means this much of air as residue is present in your lungs. Can you calculate this? What is reserve volume? We have written the values. What is expiratory reserve volume? Can you calculate and tell me what is functional residual volume? Functional residual volume. Give me the number. Okay, here write down one more point, and that is the average is taken as 1100 milliliters. Okay, so if average is asked, we normally give a range, but if average is asked, we have to take 1100. Okay, now tell me the volume which will be the functional residual volume. And how do we calculate? 1200 to 1500. This is the reserve volume. Plus, how much is the expiratory reserve volume? If you want to take the average, then you will have to take it as 1100. Otherwise, you can take the range also. Say you take 1100. So, how much is it going to be? about 2200 to 2300 something. To milliliter. So approximately it is taken as 2500 milliliters. This is the functional residual volume. Okay? Alright, so all these terms, are they clear? We are still trying to find out our lung capacities and the pulmonary volumes. One thing that we have understood is that our lung can hold about 5 liters of air, but we normally take only 500. That means we are not using our lung capacity to its fullest. Now what is TLC? It is total lung capacity. Now how do we calculate the total lung capacity? So in our lung, if we have to just make it like a box, this is the one which we are using all the time, tidal volume. Forcefully inspiratory reserve volume, forcefully expiratory reserve volume, then there is residual volume which is always there. So what is the total lung capacity? These three things together were called vital capacity. So can we find out the total lung capacity by a simple formula? TLC can be calculated as vital capacity plus the reserve volume. Can we do it? Vital capacity plus super duper clear. Very good. Now answer this if it is clear. Reena, if it is clear, then answer. Okay, how much that value is going to be? Vital capacity plus reserve volume. You know the values of all these volumes. It is going to be somewhere around 5 to 6 liters. And the average is normally taken as 5800 liters. Normally, this is the average which we take. So, what is the total lung capacity? Our lungs total capacity is 5,800 or 6,000, that is 6 liters. 5 to 6 liters is normally what we say. And we are using only 10%. 46 to 62, it ranges somewhere between 5 to 6 approximately, right? Around 5 and 6. So that is why the average comes to around 5800 milliliters. How much of your lung capacity are you using? Only 10%. Only 10%. Can anybody tell me how much of your brain are you using? What percentage of your brain do you use? Anusha is saying 1%. Reena says 5%. Hiren is talking only cerebellum. Do you use your cerebral hemispheres or only the cerebellum part? If you're using your cerebellum, then you're only talking about balancing and posture and all those things. You cannot be talking about the analytical part, the thinking, analysis, memory part. You cannot talk about all those. But you do. You ask questions. That means you are using your cerebral hemispheres also. Okay, Reshma says 0.3%. It is said that an average human uses about 2 to 3% of the brain. Scientists say that Einstein was able to use more than 4% of his brain. So if he was able to use 4%, or if somebody is able to use 4 or 5%, becomes an Einstein. And those who use only 2 to 3% remain like us. How much is the difference? Just 1%. And I just asked you a question in the beginning of the class that some of you have taken a drop. So when you decide to take a drop, your target is that I have to increase my score by 200 marks, 100 marks, 150 marks. This is how your target is. And here we are talking about increasing it by 1% only. Yeah, they say that Horlicks Junior can do it. Yes, let us start having that Horlicks now. If it helps us increase the brain power by just 1%. Okay, no brain booster, no drink, nothing can help. But how do you increase the brain capacity? How do you increase your brain cells to work, or how can you make them work more? Give them the food. What is the food for your brain cells? I'm sure many of you must be doing something, right? Moms सुबह बादाम खिलाते होंगे कि बादाम खाओ, memory power अच्छा हो जाएगा and all those things. So I'm sure many of you are doing that. But that is not what we are talking about. We are talking about the food for the brain cells. And what is the food for the brain cell? Is interpretation, analysis, all these things. Doesn't work, Anusha, it doesn't work. Just give the food that the brain cells need. You are giving them which is required by some other part of the body, not the brain cells. If you are able to analyze, interpret things, if you give task to your brain cells, suppose there is a question in front of you and you are thinking, if this is not the way it is working, what is the other method? How can I do it? There should be some other possibility, and you're thinking and thinking about the same thing till you solve it. That is the food for your brain. So the point which I'm talking about is you're using only 2 to 3% of your brain. You're using only 5% of your lungs, and you want to become Einsteins. How is that possible? So you'll have to work on things by which you are able to use more of this. And see, it is a very simple thing. As a biology student, we can understand it better. More oxygen to brain cells. And our brain cells are very sensitive to oxygen. In presence of less oxygen, they cannot work. And if brain cells die, they do not divide or regenerate. So that damage is permanent. So if you supply more and more oxygen to your brain cells, they will be able to generate more energy and they will be able to work better. For that, you will have to increase your vital capacity. So instead of 500 milliliters, if you are able to take in more, that means more oxygen going in, more exchange taking place, more oxygen reaching to your brain. And that is why you need to do breathing exercises. And that is why you need to do all those yoga exercises. Because in yoga, it is all breathing related, respiration related. And that is why athletes have better lung power, because they have trained themselves in such a manner. What happens when a diver, a swimmer dives into the pool? They take a deep breath. And what is a deep breath? Inspiratory reserve volume. So they have taken more air into their lungs, and because the power is more, now there will be exchange of gases taking place for a longer period of time, and they can remain underwater. So this is how you need to improve your lung power. And if lungs are good, your brain is automatically going to be good. Yeah, hippocampus is a different thing. Its job is slightly different, right? All right. Now let us come to minute respiratory volume. The basic things we have done. Now using that, we have to calculate this. So the next thing that we are talking about is minute respiratory volume. What is meant by this? In a minute, the volume of air that goes into our lungs. Volume of air that enters our lungs in a minute. What is our respiratory rate? How many times in a minute do we breathe? Normally it varies from 11, 12 to say 70. So say let us take 12. 12 times per minute. 12 times per minute. This is our respiratory rate. And in every respiration, that is in every inhalation, you are taking 500 milliliters of air. So how do you calculate minute respiratory volume? Is 12 times you are taking 500 milliliters. So how much air is going into your lungs per minute? Amisha, I daily do meditation and yoga as well. I am sure it is helping. Keep doing it, but I think in the beginning somebody said that to improve the score they are doing the meditation. So this is additional apart from your studies, okay? So this is going to be 6,000 milliliters or 6 liters. Perfect. 6 liters, 6 liters, 6 liters. So this is the minute respiratory volume. Okay. Now let us talk about alveolar ventilation. This is again very, very important. 6 liters, the VS, I'm still getting answer. Okay, now how do you calculate the alveolar ventilation? That is rate of alveolar ventilation means actually the air which reaches up to alveoli per minute. That is alveolar ventilation. So rate of respiration, we know this, that is if you take the average as 12 and air, that is air reaching alveoli. How much of air reaches? Tidal volume is 500 minus 150 remains in the dead space. So that is minus 150, or you can say 12 into 350. This much of air is reaching up to the alveoli every minute. Every time you breathe in, 500 goes in, but out of which only 350 reaches the alveoli. So if you're doing it over a minute, then 12 times of that. How much is that volume going to be? $350 into 12. It will be around 4,200 milliliters. So the air which totally goes in is 6 liters. Minute respiration rate. out of which only 4200 milliliters reaches our alveoli. Clear? If all these volumes and all these things are clear, then we will come to exchange of gases. All volumes, capacities, everything clear? Now when you revise this part, then as I said, keep doing those activities so that it will be easy to understand. All right, let us talk about exchange of gases. And we are talking of exchange of respiratory gases. So exchange of gases takes place at two places. At two places. What are those two places? That is at lung level and at tissue level. Alright, to understand this, we will draw a schematic diagram. We will make a schematic representation. And then we will use the schematic representation for the other things also. Say this is an alveolar sac or an alveolus. And this is the circulation path. In the schematic diagrams, we don't have to be very specific about the structure. This middle square is representing the circulation path, and here are the tissues. Here are the alveoli. So if exchange takes place here, exchange of gases, then we say at the lung level, and when exchange takes place here, we call it at the tissue level. Now what happens when we breathe in? The air that enters has higher oxygen concentration. Here we will add one term, that is partial pressure. And partial pressure is represented as PP. Partial pressure. Now if you're talking about partial pressure of oxygen, then it will be written as PO2, and if you're talking about partial pressure of carbon dioxide, it is written as PCO2. PO2 and PCO2. Right now we will just talk about how this exchange is taking place. The air which comes in here has higher PO2. Partial pressure of oxygen is more. What exactly is a partial pressure? What do we mean by this? It is pressure exerted by a gas in a mixture of gases. Pressure exerted by a gas in a mixture of gases is called partial pressure. Okay, so the pressure which is exerted by oxygen in air will be called PO2. Pressure exerted by carbon dioxide in air will be called PCO2. So the air that we breathe in has higher partial pressure of oxygen. The blood which comes here is deoxygenated. So here PO2 is low and PCO2 is more, because deoxygenated blood goes to the lungs for oxygenation. So deoxygenated blood is coming. Have you done the structure of heart? Are you aware of the structure of heart? Okay, here we don't talk about Dalton's law of partial pressure. Here we just talk about partial pressure of gases. And we have to just understand that gases move from their higher partial pressure to lower partial pressure. Okay, so which is that compartment which pumps deoxygenated blood to the lungs? Can anyone tell me? Yes, heart has 4 chambers. Which is that compartment which is going to pump the deoxygenated blood to the lungs? Pumping compartments are ventricles. So it is going to be the right ventricle. And the blood vessel which is going to take this deoxygenated blood, suppose this was the blood vessel, then we would have called it pulmonary artery. So pulmonary artery takes deoxygenated blood to the lungs. Deoxygenated means partial pressure of oxygen is less, it has less oxygen and it has more of carbon dioxide. Now here partial pressure of oxygen is more and PCO2 is low. I just now told you that gases diffuse from higher partial pressure to lower partial pressure. So carbon dioxide from higher will move into the alveoli and oxygen from higher, that is alveoli, will diffuse into the blood. So here partial pressure of oxygen will increase and partial pressure of carbon dioxide will decrease. Has the exchange taken place? And this is at the lung level. And how is this exchange taking place? It is by simple diffusion. Simple diffusion. Now when oxygen comes into the blood, can we start calling this blood oxygenated now? So this is oxygenated blood. Where will this oxygenated blood go? The oxygenated blood will go into auricles. So it goes into the left auricle. The blood vessel which is going to take it is pulmonary veins. From left auricle, the blood is going to come into left ventricle. So left ventricle is going to receive oxygenated blood. So here also it is oxygenated blood. And the blood vessel is called aorta. The blood which comes here has PO2 high, PCO2 low. Okay, what is happening in the tissue? The tissue is using oxygen and releasing carbon dioxide. So here PO2 is going to be low and PCO2 is going to be high. Okay. So now what will happen? Carbon dioxide from high partial pressure diffuses towards the low pressure area and oxygen from high PO2 diffuses towards low PO2. Again there is exchange, but this is at tissue level. So now what will happen is PCO2 will increase and PO2 will decrease because oxygen from the blood has gone into the tissue and the carbon dioxide from the tissue has reached into the blood. So this blood is again deoxygenated. And which blood vessel is going to take it? There are two main vessels. One is called superior vena cava, other is called inferior vena cava. So we can simply write vena cava. And where do they come? They come into the right auricle. From right auricle, the blood goes into right ventricle and then this circulation takes place. So there are two places where this exchange of gases is taking place. Is this schematic representation clear? Are you able to understand what is happening? We have drawn the compartments of heart but separately, just so that we understand the process. Is this part clear? Because we have not written the values yet. What is double circulation? Amisha, double circulation is, I can give you the definition, but we'll talk about this in detail when we come to circulation chapter. Double circulation means when the blood passes through the heart twice before it is supplied to any body part. That type of circulation is called double circulation. So is this exchange of gases clear? And gases diffuse from their higher partial pressure to their lower partial pressure, irrespective of the partial pressure of other gases. Okay, so if oxygen is more in one area, less in the other area, then the oxygen will diffuse from higher to lower, irrespective of what is the partial pressure of carbon dioxide or nitrogen or any other gas. What is your correct name? Purple Lion. Am I late? Very late. The class is going to get over in about 10 minutes time. And the reason why I am not giving you the values here, because today we have done many values. So if I tell you some numbers here also, then that might create some confusion. Okay, you don't have to feel sorry, but why are you so late? Okay, if this part is clear, then we'll go over what we have done today, just to have a recap. Okay, we started with the pulmonary volumes and lung capacities. And the first thing that we talked about was the difference between the volume and the capacity. Capacity is maximum, how much it can hold, and volume is actually how much air is present. So tidal volume, which is the volume of air that we inhale or exhale in a normal breath, in a normal condition, normal resting condition, not lying down, no physical activity, then that volume is 500 milliliters. Then we talked about inspiratory reserve volume. What is inspiratory reserve volume? After normal inhalation, that is after taking 500 milliliters, how much can you inhale forcefully? That is the air which can be accommodated in our lungs. That means that much reserve we have. So it is called inspiratory reserve volume. So how much air can be inhaled? Normally and forcefully. Normally is 500 and then forcefully is this much. And for reserve volume we have a range. So our inspiratory capacity ranges from 2.5 to 3.5 liters. Similarly, we have the expiratory reserve volume. That means after normal exhalation, forcefully we can exhale some more air. That is the expiratory reserve volume. All right. Okay, next come to vital capacity. Vital capacity is inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume all come out. But what exactly we mean by this? Suppose we try to empty our lungs. There is some air which is always going to remain, which is called reserve volume. No matter what you do, you cannot exhale that air. So forcefully, whatever amount of air we can exhale. So you exhale normally, then forcefully remove that air. That means tidal volume gone out, expiratory reserve volume gone out. Now forcefully take air in. So what is going to happen? First, this inspiratory reserve volume will be filled, then tidal volume will be filled, and then the inspiratory, that is expiratory, tidal, inspiratory, all will be filled, and that gives your vital capacity. Athletes and deep sea divers, they have higher vital capacity. And the reason is, when they have to dive, they have to take deep breath. Forcefully they have to inhale and forcefully they have to exhale and that is why their lung capacity, their vital capacity is more. Then we talked about residual volume. It is the volume of air which remains in our lung whatever we do. No matter how forcefully we try to exhale, it is still going to remain there. That amount or that volume is 1200 to 1500 milliliters. What is the functional? So in our lungs, that residual volume remains and that expiratory reserve volume will remain. That expiratory reserve volume is the air which we can exhale only forcefully. But in normal breathing, we are not exhaling that. So that also remains and the reserve volume also remains. So this is our functional reserve volume. Then total lung capacity. Total lung capacity is everything combined. Inspiratory reserve volume, tidal volume, expiratory reserve volume and residual volume. So you can calculate it as vital capacity plus reserve volume. Then minute respiratory, in a minute how much air goes into our lungs. Alveolar ventilation, in a minute how much air goes into our alveoli. Here we have to remove that anatomical dead space. So that dead volume which is there, that we have to remove. And then we came to the exchange of gases. So in this whole thing, is there anything which is difficult? Anything which is not clear? Only thing which I have not given you is the value here. Partial pressure of oxygen in the alveolar air, partial pressure of oxygen in the blood, that I have not given you purposefully. And the reason is because we have done so many figures in the first part, so then there is a chance of confusion. So anyone who has any confusion here, doubt here? You need to revise it again? Yes, you will have to, because if you're doing it for the first time, at least once you do it, and as I said, revise it and keep doing it. Like inhalation, okay, this is 500. Exhalation, okay, this is 500. Then inspiration reserve volume, okay, it is more than 500. So this is how, if you do, you will be able to remember all those values very, very clearly. So Hiren, Anju, Amisha, Anusha, Reena, they have given the, they have said that they understood. Anju is asking, is there any numerical for this? Not really, not the numerical things, it is just the calculation part. And that is what I told you in the beginning, that the question which is asked normally on these volumes is, either they ask you to calculate or they just give you it as a match the column thing. So the numbers are important, because if you remember the numbers, then only you will be able to match it. So as such, there is no numerical, and here also the numbers are there. So once we add the numbers, you will understand this, that it is always moving from higher partial pressure to what is this, Hiren, that you're talking about? The glycolysis song. We have classes daily, and our classes are from 12:30 to 2, and the timetable which I have shared with the students is till 11th of November, and till that time I'm going to be completing this chapter, and we will be having a quiz after that. And then there is Diwali break, which is like for 3-4 days, and then I am taking a break and I will restart my classes from the first week of December itself. Just installing the Unacademy app, can we see the recorded videos? Just try to see the videos, and if you see them, good. Amisha is asking, where are you, ma'am, right now in India? I am in India, yes, very much. I am based at Indore in Madhya Pradesh. And where are you from? Okay, Meerut. Anusha is from Kerala. Very nice. So there are students from all over the country. This is the best part of, the online thing. Okay, Anju is from Jodhpur. Oh, we visited Jodhpur last year. It's a beautiful city. Okay, so revise everything. Reena is from Tamil Nadu. Hiren is from New Delhi. Anusha is saying, I understand Hindi. That's very good. Everyone should understand Hindi, but this channel is specifically designed for those students who are more comfortable in pure English classes. Okay, so we did pulmonary volumes and capacities, lung capacities, and the exchange of gases part. Now when we meet tomorrow, you have to revise this at home after your classes are done, and then after asking the doubts, in case if you come across any, we will continue with this chapter. Okay, so I'll see you tomorrow, and those who were confused about the timing, we will start at 12:30 sharp. So I'll see you at 12:30. So bye. Yes, I will, Amisha. I am definitely going to do that. Okay, bye.